you doing? Welcome once again. Thank you for joining me for another math lesson with Mr. Woodford. Today we're going to be talking about subtracting integers with word problems. So we're going to focus on looking at word problems and identifying keywords that may represent subtraction. So let's look at it together. Please, if you have your packet with you, open it up to lesson 1.6, where we'll be looking at subtracting integers with word problems. First of all, as we normally do in every worksheet, it starts off with a bell work. Take a moment to see if you can complete this bell work. Pause the video if you need to. Solve the subtraction integer problems below. You may use counters if you like. You may use absolute value if you like, but take a moment to see if you can solve both of these problems. All right, awesome. Now that we gave you a moment, I'm hoping that you had enough time to complete them. First thing you want to do with both of these is make sure you rewrite them as addition. That is our number one go-to thing that we do when we see subtraction. So let me rewrite them for you. And then from there, make sure you also wrote the same thing. So we want to keep, change, and we get 2 plus 4. For B, we would keep, change the minus to a plus, and change that -4 to a +4. So even though these essentially look somewhat alike, you'll see that that first number being -2 or +2 definitely makes a difference. Now, because it asks me if I wanted to use the counters, I am going to use the counters. These are both positive numbers, so I'm going to do +2 first. Then I'm going to do a +4. Notice that there's no shaded circles here, so I can't cancel anything out. I literally just count all the circles up together, and I get a +6. Okay. So when I go to do letter B, right? If I were to use counters here, I want to keep in mind here that I see -2 plus 4. Because it's -2, I'm going to do 2 circles. Now, remember, negative, it's indicating shaded circles here. So I'm shading both of my circles. Then I want to indicate a +4. So I'm showing myself doing +4 circles. Unlike the first bell work problem, this one I can actually cancel some out because I do have open circles and I do have closed circles. So I'm just going to cross out these 2 pairs and you'll see exactly what we're left with. In this case, we're just left with a +2. So I'm hoping that you was also able to get that for the bell work. I just wanted to make sure I go over that to make sure we're all on the same page. Now, in this worksheet, as well as the last worksheet, I included the directions to use absolute value because I think it's important to remind yourself how to do it. Once again, absolute value of both. Same signs you're adding, different signs you're subtracting. Same signs you're using the common sign, and for different signs, just use the sign of the bigger number. Now, let's do some visualizing vocabulary just to practice identifying keywords, okay? Deposit of 25. What does deposit mean? When you think about going to the bank, you should be thinking about depositing as putting money in the bank, right? Putting money in the bank would indicate a positive, right? So if you want, you could just put a little plus sign next to this one because that's going to indicate positive. Decrease, we should all recognize the word decrease as a subtraction word, which in this case is understanding the minus. Deficit is kind of like you lost something. It's losing of a certain amount. In this case, you lost $25. And the word loss, we should recognize that as also being a minus sign. And the word profit, meaning that you gained or it increased. And these additional words I'm using, they represent a positive. Now, it's important for us to recognize vocabulary words, especially when we're dealing with word problems. If you can identify the keywords in every word problem, you'll have a better chance of interpreting or even turning it into a math problem. So here we see deposit being a +20, decrease of $20 meaning a -20, deficit meaning -25, and profit of $25 is profit or +$25. Okay, now yes, I'm hoping that that was really easy for you to draw those lines and connect that. But these are big words and they're important words for us to do. Let me model 2 examples for you. Now, both of these examples represent temperature, but I do want you to pay attention to the other problems that you have to do and notice what is it talking about. Now, when it comes to word problems, I want you to identify the before and after. Where does it start? Where does it end up? Especially when we're talking about subtraction. You need to recognize, okay, where is it starting? Where is it ending? And then when we go to actually solve the word problem in subtraction, we're going to do after minus before. So that way you can get the change of temperature, because that's what a lot of these problems are asking you. What was the change? What was the difference, right? These words are indicating, can you take what happened after and minus the before? And let me show you what that looks like. So the temperature on Monday was 65 degrees. By Tuesday, the temperature rose to 75 degrees. So if we were to make a chart, we can notice that Monday, 65 degrees Fahrenheit, Tuesday, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. What was the change in temperature? Now, for some of you guys, you can easily say, okay, 65 plus something gives me 75, and you know that's going to be a 10 degrees difference, right? Or the change was 10 degrees. But for some of you, let me show you how to actually create it when you're doing after minus before. So when I say after, I mean the second number, or what happens later on. Later on in this case is Tuesday. Monday was the original, or as we talked about in the last word problems, initial temperature. Tuesday is 75 degrees. So that's our after. Okay, this is our after. And we're going to subtract our before. Now, in this case, they never said anything about negative numbers. They just mentioned it was 65, which is a positive 65. So I did after minus before, and I get 75 minus 65. Now, could we change this to addition? Absolutely. 75 plus a negative 65, as we've been doing. We could do absolute value of both, because we see that we have some big numbers here. So 75, absolute value of negative 65 is 65. And then we do subtraction because they were different signs, and we would get 75 minus 65. We know that's 10. Is it positive or is it negative? We take the sign of the bigger number. In this case, it was 75. That was positive. That's what we're putting here. Now, because these are word problems, I want to make sure we answer the word problems in sentences or in phrases that kind of connect to the word problem. In this case, we're going to put the change in temperature was 10 degrees. Or we can write it rose 10 degrees, or for now, let's just write 10 degrees. There was a 10 degree increase. Okay, it was a 10 degree increase in temperature. Okay, oh, sorry about that little smudge. Okay, and this will be our answer right here. Now we're going to make sure we pay attention to word problems, because we do want to answer them in the context of the problem. Let me just do one more before you work on your independent practice and eventually complete your homework, okay? On Monday, it was negative 5 degrees Celsius. And notice Celsius and Fahrenheit are different, right? If you want to look up the actual change in them, feel free. But for this problem, we don't need that. We just need to know that they were both in Celsius. Now, Monday was negative 5 degrees Celsius. Tuesday, it was negative 2 degrees Celsius. And that's the bell telling me I got to get ready for class. Tuesday, let's start off with the after. Once again, Tuesday is negative 2. Because we're subtracting to find the difference, right? We're doing subtraction problems. We're doing after minus before. We're going to say Tuesday minus Monday. Now, notice here, these are negative numbers. We do want to change this into positives. So keep, change, change. Now we have negative 2 plus 5. For this problem, I'm going to actually use counters. You can use absolute value or counters. Either one is perfectly fine. I'm going to use counters because I just want to show you another method. And once again, because we have pairs, we can cross them out. We count how many is left. We see is 3. Because they're open, we know that's going to be a positive number. Okay? Now, for these, you can either use absolute value, you can use counters, whatever method you feel most comfortable with. But please make sure you're showing your work. Oh, and I apologize. I should have put 3 degrees Celsius, and this one should have said Fahrenheit. 3 degrees Celsius was the change in temperature. Or that's how much it increased, right? We know it increased because that's a positive 3 and not a negative 3, okay? Awesome. Now, I'm hoping that this helped you. Please take a second and look back over it. If you have to rewind the video, if you have to pause it, whatever you do, make sure you're able to really understand the concept. But I just want to thank you once again for watching the video. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.